We're off.
Right, so...
Something about Obama.
Lovely, beautiful... Yes, oh yes, let me check. How many subscribers does Obama have? Uno momento, por favor.
And
Now,
we
that might
need
have been bad Spanish, but it's...
to
not
regain
as
those
bad
lost
as I'm sure
subscribers.
Englander's attempt would be.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, mine would be
all
pitifully
two of
bad.
them. Yeah. But of course your French is probably better than mine. Every time I see a can of LaCroix, I always want to say LaCroix. Oh, no, you're cutting out again. I didn't... It's humming. You sound like a hive of angry beehives again.
Yes, there we go. Accents. I
Not
was going
quite.
to say accents isn't my thing.
Accents, yeah. I guess that's true. I guess I've got accents, but again, it's like... they're not the greatest thing. I can do a bit of the Irish, you know, but of course that's such a typical thing. That's a typical thing, you know, and it's not far away from any ordinary dialect, you know. It's well, I suppose some of them are, but for the most part, if you want to speak like an Irishman, you just got to add an element of melody to it. You know, it's not hard to sound like an ordinary, I guess. Well, it's probably a pitifully middle class sounding Irish person. It's probably like a BBC Irish accent, but
There's so many Americans who like to take so much pride in their Irish ancestry, who sort of almost frame America as like an Irish nation in a
well, America is about as much an Irish nation as it is a German nation. Like you know, like 70% of the total gene pool is English. But that is so vanilla and boring that everyone focuses on like, oh, I'm 1/16 Cherokee, I'm 1/4 German, etc., etc.
people when they fill out their census, they in America they can list themselves as American, can't they, rather than just anything else. So I think those people
Well,
would
we don't really have ethnicity on the census anymore. We have race.
well I think that
I don't know that we've had ethnicity on the census for a while.
well
Basically,
it's
as long as Irish people have been considered white, I don't think that ethnicity has been on the census.
basically what I was trying to say is people who consider themselves American tend to be the ones who have more English ancestry.
Yeah. But of course, you know, it's not cool to be American anymore, you know? Like, you got people, like in my family, you know, who can trace their heritage all the way back to the Mayflower, you know, 400 years of living in America. But they'll still latch on to some auntie or uncle they have or whatever that's Dutch or something. It's ridiculous.
Can I just say, whenever I type in your channel name, the top things I get is this random movie trailer or something I've never even seen before, and just a couple of
Oh,
other
what's it
things.
called? Well,
The
sometimes you'll get
Lobster.
ads in the search results for no reason.
Yeah, they're
Well,
all.
it is number one lobster. You gotta remember the pound sign.
Yeah.
One.
Well, I've come to the conclusion that Susan is on your tail. As she's also been decreasing your sub
Maybe a
count.
bit, but also it is quite a small channel, and yeah, that's fair enough. But like, I used to do fairly random comedy content before I got into. Like I'd mentioned political stuff before, but it was literally like I would tie up a bundle of sticks and hold on.
Very profound. Yeah, as we said, we need to go through. We need to go through some of your old content. That would be very, very entertaining as a podcast. Not a stream. I keep guessing that wrong.
Sorry, one of my little brothers just popped in. Yeah.
No, that's okay.
Oh.
Another thing. Oh,
Yes.
go on.
No. Sorry. I can talk now, and it's It was I didn't finish what I was saying. It's like about like the political commentary that I used to do in the past was literally just that I'd like tie together a bundle of sticks and I would make a joke about fascism being gay because, ooh, you know what else this is called? What other word starts with an F?
Ah, yeah. Very, very funny.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, well, thing
You
is
know,
though,
so
that's
that
probably
used to be.
you were probably on the caliber of the sort of AA Gold channel where you just post completely random content, which sort of almost seemed very, very based, just because you took no notice whatsoever of any modern events or whatever. So you didn't care.
I mean, we don't particularly like do that even yet. You know, it's like
No.
what has been the extent of our Ukraine coverage? It's just a thing is happening, and then
Yeah,
instead we sort of do like what's it? We make like based versions of the cringe modern stuff. You know,
Black
like for
History
Black
Month.
History Month,
Yeah.
we talked about like evil maniacal like warlords in Africa and benevolent maniacal warlords in Africa. You know, basically, it's I guess is like the sort of yin yang pairing that is I guess what's it? General butt naked versus Paul Kagame. You know, Paul Kagame, of
Oh
course,
yeah,
being
yeah. Hmm.
the sort of the moralist military dictator of Rwanda who sort of almost single-handedly sort of civilized that country and put a stop to the genocide by executing thousands of his own soldiers as punishment for like rape and stuff.
Mm.
Literally, he held his own guys to account, and now Rwanda has like the cleanest cities in Africa, and they
I
produce 25% of the food that is eaten by something like 30% of the African population.
Yeah, I always thought it was Botswana that was the sort of thriving nation in Africa. So it's quite interesting to hear some of.
Uh, I've heard there's also like Nigeria. I think is the wealthiest, but
Yeah.
Nigeria is also like socially unstable, and you've got
Mm.
sectarian conflicts between like Catholics and Protestants and like voodoo and different sects of Islam all sort of like
Yeah.
attacking each other.
I mean, it's very corrupt as well, isn't it?
Yeah, and like more old-fashioned witch doctors as well,
Mm.
like even outside of voodoo that do like human sacrifice and nonsense. All sorts of horrible things happen in Nigeria. Um, I think the Isle of Mauritius is actually the wealthiest country in Africa, but like
By
like
GDP per capita, I'm
by
guessing.
population, yeah, by like GDP per capita. Like in terms of total GDP, I believe it is Nigeria, but in terms like per capita, I believe it's the island of Mauritius. But
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that the island of Mauritius was uninhabited before colonization, so it's also like the only majority white country like in south of the Sahara Desert. So in
Yeah.
Africa, so most people don't really count it.
I mean, it's it's an interesting. You going back to that conversation we had. You kind of predicted that there'd be some kind of thriving Africa. I don't want to put
It
words
might
into your
take
mouth.
ages. It might take like
Yeah.
100 or like it might take more than 100 years. But
Mm.
I do feel like sort of post collapse, you know, like when Europe and America and sort of the whole Western world collapses like the Roman Empire did into like a warring feudalism and like thousands of tiny little states all killing each other.
Mm.
I feel like Africa will sort of experience a golden age during that time period. Perhaps
Yeah.
to the point that they start sending like missionaries and medical professionals like to provide humanitarian aid to the Western world.
Mm. It's interesting because this is a view that has certainly rustled a few feathers over in the AA sphere.
Yes. Yes. Well,
I mean, I do think that they're
it's because those are like a lot, not all of those people, but a lot of people in the AA sphere are sort of like reductionist IQ worshippers.
yeah, and that's not a good metric for
Like
which we should
IQ is
judge people.
important, but it's not the only important thing,
Mm.
much less the most important thing.
I mean, let's just remember that our modern the Western world built pretty much everything we have today, and the ills that have come with it. So we shouldn't be too quick
Yeah,
to lay blame to ourselves, or should we
yeah,
blame to ourselves? Sorry.
yeah. But of course, also, like one's got to remember, like degeneracy is not exactly something which is specific to modernity.
Yeah,
It's ancient Greece was gay for centuries before it was cool.
yeah. It's just that I think the modern condition seems to have accelerated those trends and those ills.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't know very much about the Roman world, but I can't imagine. I don't know how many OnlyFan
We know that
accounts.
near the end there was a lot of rent boys. There was a
Yeah.
lot of male prostitutes near the end of the Roman Empire.
And it tends to be with the elites, doesn't it? The elites who that when they
Well, yes, because the elites always do what's in fashion. The elites are always the
mm,
most conservative or the most liberal. And
it's
then,
when they
the proles are always out of fashion, so the proles are always
mm,
when conservatism is in fashion, the proles are always the most liberal, but when progressivism is in fashion, the proles are always the most conservative, because what the proles believe never actually changes. They're literally like, what's it? The proles are basically like the pin, the fixed point to which the pendulum is attached.
yeah.
The linchpin of the pendulum, of the political pendulum.
It's interesting because those it tends to be I mean, I was looking at Russian history recently, and it tends to be some of the was those lower peasants, those serfs, who tended to be
Yeah.
quite conservative with there was this institution called the Mir, which was like it was almost like a
Yes.
conservative. It defended their sort of interests and refused to make any sort of change or to their own agricultural policies and sort of social policy. So it's not always the
Yeah.
elites who
Well, it's
conserve
like,
these things.
yeah. Well, in Russia, the way that they got it going is it wasn't actually the proletariat or the workers that rose up; it was the criminals.
Yeah, yeah.
It was the underclass, not the lower class.
Mm. And then coupled with a few upper middle class individuals as well,
Yes, it was. Yeah,
like
it was
the Lenins
effectively
and the
like tier
Trotskys.
zero. Yeah, yeah. It was effectively like tier 0 and tier 3 versus tiers 1 and 2 and 6 and 7.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Anyway, no, but this is all rather unrelated, and we never even got to the Obama bashing. Let me see his old Obama's
Well,
YouTube channel.
I checked, and you were on 95 subscribers, so you have gained one since I last checked.
Ah, brilliant. So
Slowly
yeah,
but
I've got
surely.
95 subscribers.
Yes.
Let's see what Obama's looking like. Barack Obama channel. All right. So BarackObama.com, which is what I believe to be the official Barack Obama YouTube channel, has 579,000 subscribers. We must overtake them. He is my Tony Blair, my arch nemesis.
We will. Yes, we
So,
will. One day.
yes. Oh, hold on. My dog got into something. Entertain the audience while I'm away.
Well, I don't think we've even introduced what the topic is going to be for this truck cast. So we're planning to do, as we were mentioning before, about how the Black History Month is. We did our own sort of based version of it. I think we're probably going to do the same thing with Women's History Month, which I didn't even know was going on. To be honest, Lobster said it was. So I don't know if that's an American thing or if I've just not taken notice of it whatsoever. So we'll just we're going to be talking about some base women through history, which is going to be quite interesting. So um, we're going to be looking at who did you link in the what is it in the ideas and feedback. Uh, let's see. I think so. One of them was Saint Olga of Kiev. I think she who was some kind of some saint who got up to some pretty nasty things before her conversion, and I don't know if she got up to them afterwards. Oh yes, there and Joan of Arc, and we'll be looking at Elizabeth I, and I'll probably add my own suggestion. Um, maybe we shouldn't even call them base, just sort of pretty mad or some insane people, and then some, you know, prominent ones like Elizabeth and the First and Joan of Arc, and then I added I should add uh, Boudica. Now it's very contentious in terms of the pronunciation, but yeah, the one who the Roman the one who went into Colchester, this and those sorts of towns within um, southern England and sort of burnt them to the ground after having her homeland conquered by these Italian invaders. So yeah, we'll be talking about some of those people. And
Yeah, so wait, some of those are heroic, but some of those are of course quite villainous. Like
yes,
one that I brought up was Elizabeth Bathory of Romania.
I didn't see that in the
She was the vampire queen of Transylvania or something like that. She's like this sociopathic. I don't remember if she's a queen or like a duke's wife or something like a duchess, but she was some kind of very high-ranking woman that would basically like tortured like female servants to death and then supposedly bathe in their blood.
mm,
She thought that it had like youth restoring properties. Like
yeah.
literally the sort of stuff that Alex Jones accuses
Yeah.
important people of doing today.
Yeah, well, I mean, in Romania there was this. I always thought the classic was that vampire king who just put people's heads on spikes and that kind of thing. I don't know if it was around that
Oh
time
yeah,
you're speaking
Vladimir
of.
the Impaler.
Oh,
Vlad
sorry, yeah.
the
Don't know how I forgot his name.
the thing with Vladimir the Impaler is that he's actually like the people of Romania are actually like quite fond of him to this day. It's only people from the rest of the world that don't like him.
Mm,
Whereas Elizabeth Bathory is
not
quite
well thought of.
universally despised.
Yeah.
Nobody likes her, not even like her. Well, of course, her descendants don't exist today because of the communist revolution in Romania. But if they did, they wouldn't. Like they'd be like, oh, horrible black stain upon.
Mm.
Uh.
Hungarian
Yeah. So the
Countess.
broken. Yeah.
Is this the one that you're talking about?
Hungarian was it? I.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hungary and Romania. Those two countries always going to war, always swapping land.
It's interesting because she have a did she rule on her own, or did she have like a husband who sort of
She had a husband.
mm,
Well, she actually loved her husband as well. She wasn't. She didn't like in the way that some women of power do. She did not like sort of subvert him or like try to take all his power from him. It's just that she ended up being like she ended up more interested in politics or something like that. I don't exactly remember. But you know what is how about you go into like some articles or something? I just got a slightly important text message that I must attend to.
that's all right. I mean, I could just be a classic Wikipedia scholar and have a look at it there, but see if there's any slightly more respectable. Let's go. Let's Britannica. That's slightly better, only a tad. So Hungarian Countess. I suppose we'll start by talking about her then, sort of learning a bit more about her. So she was born during the 1560s, and let's have a look. She was born into prominent Protestant nobility, so um, I'm more interested though in why she is regarded as an absolute mad woman. Um, Torture. Okay. My apologies for the total unpreparedness of this stream. I didn't even know about this person until Lobster informed me of her. So apparently there's sort of stories of her bathing in the blood of virgins. Yeah, as Lobster was saying. Although they're considered unreliable, I'm not too surprised about that. But the interesting thing about these stories is that they must have some sort of grain of truth for them to be her to be accused of them in the first place. So um, she must have done.
The reason, yeah,
Go on.
she was certainly guilty of like some kind of serious like mass murder,
Mm,
if not necessarily bathing in the blood of virgins, because basically is usually when nobility is guilty of murder or rape or some other kind of heinous crime, they usually just have like their lands and titles stripped away from them, but they otherwise get away rather scot-free. She was actually executed, which is something that almost never happens to nobility, especially in Eastern Europe at the time period.
mm.
Usually, someone like her would just be banished.
Yeah, I mean, well, she was a queen though, so I suppose she was able to maintain a position somewhat and abuse it. I'm guessing. Oh, we lost you again.
No, I'm just doing a bit of drawing, and I presumed that you didn't want to hear like dead airspace from my end while I was doing that.
What are you drawing? Well, those the similar sorts of things.
Well, well, it's basically is that last night I was talking to like a random artist person that I know. I was texting them on my phone
Mm,
late at night because I basically had a woodworking idea. And like today they're like, hey, didn't you mention you were gonna like send me some pictures or whatever of like sketches? And I was like, oh shoot, I completely forgot to even draw the sketches, much less take pictures. So
so you're just hurriedly doing it
yeah,
now.
yeah.
I mean, on that subject, have you made any progress with the NFT mine? That's a Discord chat with Math Lemon. Because I mean, that was
Not particularly.
yeah, well, that was an interesting thing
Basically,
that was planned.
yeah. Basically, it's just like, oh yeah, totally, we could take your drawings and like put them in different colors and stuff. But basically, it's just I haven't got any high quality enough images because it was
Mm,
well, basically because the way that we were getting all those images is all that stuff that I've drawn by hand, and then I take pictures of it and post it on Instagram, and then I screenshotting those pictures off of Instagram and posting them on Discord. So, it you get a bit of JPEG crust, and that has a way of ruining things.
mm. Well, I suppose there's no way of doing it from as you're drawing them by hand. It's much more difficult, isn't it, to put them onto the computer?
Well, yeah, but I can't exactly draw on the computer just because, like,
It's different.
I don't know. Maybe it's some kind of like anxiety something or other. But like
You don't have a drawing tablet. Seems pretty obvious.
well, it's not just that I don't have a drawing tablet. I've used them in the past, and I don't like it. I need to have like the texture of like, of like paper and graphite for some reason.
Yeah, they're very
I think
different
yeah.
things, aren't they, to work with?
It's partially also like a matter of precision as well. Like a lot like when you do have a drawing tablet, like the stylus. It's not very thick, but like it's thicker than the point of a pencil.
Mm.
And so like it does block my view, like
You get like an Apple
however
Pencil
little.
and iPad. I've heard those are more like on real paper.
Yeah. I don't know. It's like one of these days, probably I will get an iPad and I'll start drawing properly. Because iPads are cheaper than like professional drawing tablets, and they're also a bit more powerful than some of them. But an iPad is still pretty expensive in its own right. I
Yeah.
can't exactly buy one of those right now.
Yeah, I mean, you seem to be successful enough with your other ventures. What
Yeah.
I've heard, at least.
Yeah, well, oh gosh, I haven't even started selling the T-shirts yet. Anyway, no, I guess that we've talked about Elizabeth Bathory about as much as we're both prepared to, and I guess
Well,
I just want
I'll
to,
just
yeah.
I'll just add something actually, which I thought was quite interesting because I was reading through it and it was saying how the charges levelled against her was they've been described as a witch hunt. Now, something that's quite interesting is
I
do you
wonder
remember?
if a feminist wrote that article.
Yeah, and the thing is,
I wonder if they're trying to defend her.
yeah, well, I mean, lots of the ways we perceive these women, I think I will point especially to the witch hunts that actually happen, the witch trials and that sort of thing. AA revealed to me, revealed to his audience that it was some of them were actually killed their husbands. So some of the
Some of
tales,
them killed children.
yeah, I mean, it's not like these people were innocent young women being burnt to the stake by a ruthless mob. It was a
Yeah, the women weren't being killed back in the day for doing
mm,
math. The memes that a lot of people have seen on Reddit are not true.
yeah, like with many things from Reddit.
Also, some of them were like drug peddlers as well. Like the idea of like witches and like evil potions literally comes from like just primitive narcotics.
Mm. And the fact that there's a whole school of history,
Yeah,
sort
and
of
that's
a feminist
basically
school of history that described how women have been oppressed, for millennium. Sort of it's their time to sort of take their place as sort of hegemons. It's they can use these sorts of things to sort of weave their own narrative, like with so many things in that sort of leftism perverts in sort of the historical sense and uses for its own ends. Yeah, I mean,
Yep.
the I mean, it's an interesting thing, really. I mean, how it's like in the inversions I was discussing, but of how sort of women taking the place of men as the kind of rulers. But I suppose the interesting thing is with these based women that we're looking at is like there were sort of the very occasional ones who had the authority, loads of authority within their own right, like Olga of Kiev and Elizabeth I, but they tended to kind of take the authority from a man that sees it in the first place. Like Saint Olga was a.
It wasn't always as sort of dark as that.
No, I wasn't trying to say it
One
was
thing,
dark.
yeah. Well, I know, but there's a slightly poor choice of words on your part when you're like they sort of take the power from a man. It's like they derive their power from a man would be the fair thing to say.
Yeah.
Although like certainly the more villainous ones usually did sort of steal the power away from a man. Like there's always been like a certain kind of man in this world that sort of like gets beaten around by his wife, and even in elite circles that has very often been the case in history.
Yeah.
And that is what happens sometimes, but it also happens very often we get more like widow queens,
Yeah.
It's like very often when you find like a powerful woman in history, it's like she's trying to continue the legacy of her husband, like Boudica, for instance, was literally trying to avenge her husband. With her fight against static buzzing from your end again. Oh dear. Well, while we wait for Englander to fix his audio trouble, More buzzing, dude. Buzzing. Still buzzing. Okay, so while we wait for Englander to fix his audio trouble, not basically just like on the topic of like the witch trials, still sounds like Angry Beehive, dude. So no, on the topic of the witch trials, it's like I've got like this like deeply like seated belief. Basically, it's like drug addicts. Like, yeah, we ought to deal with those people with sympathy, but drug dealers, like, nah. People who make and sell drugs basically ought to be like burned at the witch, or burnt like witches, like at the stake or something. You know, like if we're gonna bring back like executions for anything, I feel like it ought to be like drug for cooking drugs or something. You know. I'd be somewhat interested to hear what Englander thinks about that, but his mic or something is giving him quite a lot of trouble at the moment. Well, you know, dead air is bad air, and
My
what's it?
apologies. I'm
Oh,
slightly fuzzier, but I think this will have to do.
it's better than an angry beehive. So,
Yeah.
so yes, were you able to hear me somewhat clearly that entire time?
I heard something about the witch trials and the burnings. I didn't hear much
Oh
more than
yes, no,
that.
I was saying that we ought to burn drug dealers at the
That's it.
stake.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh, Basically, because you know it's like I understand why you're gonna have sympathy for like drug addicts, but drug dealers, I feel like no, that's scum.
yeah.
People
Because
who proliferate.
they're like the ones complicit in it, aren't they? The
Yeah.
ones who actually have caused the. It's
Suffering.
like
You know, it's what's it like?
think of them as Adam and Eve.
Well,
The
if
drug
we
users,
yeah
and then the drug dealers is like Satan. They're the ones who are
yeah
tempting them.
yeah.
Yeah, I think.
Uh,
Go on.
but uh, remember what you wanted to say. But the thing that I was gonna say is like, people always say, "Oh, drug addicts are victims," and it's like, well, if a drug addict is a victim, who's the perpetrator?
Yeah.
It's not society; it's the dealer.
Mhm. Yeah, I
So
mean,
what were you gonna say?
I was only going to bring it slightly back to the topic of women.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I was going to make a slight correction to my poor choice of words earlier. Is that it kind of, as you said with Buddhist, they took the place of a man. I think is what I should try to say, rather than seize it. Sort of they stepped in. So same with
Yeah.
Elizabeth I. It originally was meant to be Edward VI, who was meant to be the new
Yeah, it
heir.
was like her brother was a bit pathetic or something.
He died very young from illness, and then it was the Catholic Mary who took over, and then who sort of burnt those the
Yeah, and Bloody
Protestants at the
Mary
stake.
was a bit
Yeah.
miserable, and
Um.
yeah, but of course Elizabeth wasn't exactly much better. She
No.
burned loads of Catholics, you know. So
Mhm. I mean, yeah, Mary.
it's just like this constant back and forth.
It's only because Mary was well, she never managed to produce an heir, so she.
Yeah,
It's a shame, really. This back and forth kind of produced a very sowed the seeds of the actual public being secularized and not really caring, of apathy.
yeah,
So that they didn't really. After the actions of Henry VIII, it sort of weren't. There was never that belief anymore. They were never as committed as they once were.
Yeah, although I do. Forgive me if this sounds terribly arrogant, sounding from like coming from an American person or whatever. But I do feel like the Church of England sort of would like its fall from grace was sort of inevitable because its fall from grace was practically its birth. You know, King Henry VIII only started the Church of England because, and perhaps we've mentioned this on a podcast before, because he wanted to get a divorce. He started it for corrupt reasons.
Yeah, and that's why I tend to think of the Church of England not as like an institution, but as a kind of it's something that goes back before Henry VIII. There's something even Anglo-Saxon that was forming around that time.
Yeah, well, what's it like? The Church of England versus the Church in England.
Yeah, I think that's a very good distinction.
Yes.
And I think the interesting thing is, going back to women again, is that they tended to be the ones, as with many things, to be very good at conserving these religious institutions, sort of as being their forces.
That is sort of like the feminine role in society, isn't it? You know, it's like the sort of the nurturing, the maternal sort of character.
Yeah.
And like even with Boudica, we see that taken to a violent extent. You know, she was a warrior queen, but she was essentially trying to put things in like slightly Jordan Peterson-esque terms. She was trying to protect like the precious infant of like her land and her people from the violent serpent of Roman expansion.
Yeah, and failed and failed to do so. So
tragically, yes.
But yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to justify the actions of Boudica. I mean, I've there's a certain type of English nationalism which likes to point back to certain dates when it all went wrong, like with many things. And it's either the 1066, the Battle of Hastings, or the Roman invasion.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I'm LDS, you know. So like, like my religion is basically it's partially built on the idea that like Christianity sort of died temporarily with the death of which one of the John the Apostle, you know, the only one that died of old age.
Oh, the last apostle, yeah.
Yeah. Basically, with the last of the original 12 apostles, including Matthias, of course, like Christianity sort of like died temporarily for nearly 2,000 years up until, you know, the 1800s come along and Joseph Smith, you know, like discovers the golden plates, you know. So it's like unconventional and slightly goofy as my religion may appear to a lot of people, you know. It's like it's like in terms of like, you know, like where did it all go wrong? You know, it's like there's a part of me which is tempted to say it's like, oh, it all went wrong with the death of John the Apostle.
Yeah, I mean in my own personal opinion, that probably took it quite far back. I mean, I would say when the church as an institution with the Pope, it became like a sort of bureaucracy of civil servants, sort of managers. Is the point where I would especially sort of under the 1200s when it became especially powerful. They weren't doing it for religious reasons. It was more just
yeah, well, that's why the separation of church and state is important. It's not because the state is some kind of like, well, in America, the narrative is given that the state is some kind of great, magnificent thing that should not be interfered with by theological minds, but the real original reason for it, and the reason why separation of church and state existed in like the Middle Ages, is because the church is like a holy thing, and getting involved with the nitty-gritty of politics is... No, that's why you have freedom of religion, Jonathan. You can have freedom of religion without separation of church and state.
Is why that you don't make laws based off of religion, because people believe different things. So saying,
well, no, Jonathan, you can have.
Christians
oh
say
my
it's
gosh,
unethical to get an abortion, but
my freaking communist brother. Fuck you.
Jewish people literally say it's ethical to get an abortion. You know that, right? So
no, a lot of them don't. A lot of them are pro-life.
Literally. if it poses a danger to the
Please
mother,
just enjoy
If
this,
it
audience.
poses a danger, Jonathan, our church says if it poses a danger to the mother, you can get an abortion.
yes,
We're just anti-birth control.
So
Jewish people are the same way. That's what people mean when they say they're pro-life. They mean they don't want babies to die for no reason.
A lot of people say no.
Yes!
But a lot of people say no.
If the mother would die without it, Jonathan, everyone says.
I thought so too, but nope, they're just that stupid.
You freaking
I
strawmanning
gave
people.
Of the doubt, and then they proved themselves to be dumb.
No, you're strawmanning people is what you're doing, Jonathan. I've literally never encountered a person with that belief.
Well, I have. So...
And I'm the one who's conservative, right? So don't you think that if there were conservative people that stupid, I would have met them firsthand?
Oof.
Or maybe they don't say all their stupid shit. Maybe they don't say the stupidest shit.
Why would they not say the stupidest shit in front of me if they think that I might agree with them? If they...
You just Shapiro'd them with facts and logic right there. That was entertaining.
Gosh. I hope it was, and I hope that you got it on clear audio. Anyway,
Yeah.
no. But the original old reason, and like even in countries like in the Middle Ages, like I was saying, that separation of church and state exists, is because you don't want like political interests to contaminate religious interests, You don't want to have it like you did in the 12th century with like the Pope and the Emperor fighting.
Yeah, and it's just almost become, the papal institution almost became secular. It didn't have the spirituality, the kind of energy about it.
Yeah, what's it?
It just sort of became an empty husk, sort of there for the sake
Kind of just
being
became
there.
a bit of a university.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the thing. That's the thing, really. When these institutions expand so much and become so immense and centralized across the whole continent, in this case, they lose so much of their character as they're so detached from the actual ground, the local communities.
Yeah.
There's another problem with globalization.
And that's sort of why Lutheran, but that's sort of why Protestantism became so popular, because each and every every different sect of Christianity or whatever, every little region wanted its own independent sect.
Yeah, I mean, you can't blame. You can disagree, but you can also understand why some people have turned to paganism, because it's in its current state.
It's sort of the most parochial thing.
Yeah, Christianity is sort of not. It's not relatable. It's not. It's so sort of, it feels distant.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, let's bear in mind that going back to women again, Elizabeth I was actually the one who sort of solidified and entrenched the Church of England within the country, and sort of ingrained those practices within the people. So it was at that point at which sort of Catholicism died within the country properly.
Gosh, yes, that is true. The main topic of this stream. Continue if you like.
What were you going to digress slightly?
Yeah, but I don't want to interrupt your flow.
No, the flow ended. The flow's long gone. Go on.
Oh, okay.
The floor's yours.
Okay. Thank you. So no, as I was just saying, is like to get back on the original topic of this stream, I'm bringing stuff with like religion and the constant infighting between Protestants and Catholics. If we go to announcements, you'll find that I linked to like stuff on like Joan of Arc as well.
Yeah.
But basically it's like Joan of Arc and Saint Olga of Kiev. It's ooh. Oh no, hold on.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not very
Well, the reason why I chose these two sort of like warrior queen type like archetypal characters is Well, admittedly, I do have a small bias against Protestantism because, growing up as like a young Mormon boy in Southern Illinois, there were
Got
a
all
lot
the
of Catholics
sticks.
around and there were a lot of Protestants around,
Mm,
and the Catholics were always nice to me and the Protestants were always very mean. The
mm,
Protestants would always be the idiots who say shit like, "Oh, you're not a real Christian."
mm. Yeah, and I mean, I don't. Saint Olga
And as you were saying,
is. I was gonna say that there's not many female saints, are there? Um, apart from.
I think there might be anyway. Well, with Saint Olga, she's primarily an Orthodox saint. I believe she's like a minor saint in Catholicism,
Yeah,
but in in the Orthodox Church, she's considered to be like equal to the 12 apostles. She's
yeah.
one of the most important saints in the
Wow.
Orthodox Church.
And what was it that she what was her actual impact? Yeah, why was she so important within the church? Was it to do with
Well,
the way she spread it?
because well, yes, it's because well, it wasn't just that she spread it. She spread it like sort of in an almost for the greater good type manner. Like one of the main sort of pagan warlords that she was constantly at war with was actually like her own son.
Mm. I mean, I watched the first part of Dankula's Absolute Mad Lads before we started, the one that you put on the chat, and from the bit I heard, she sounds like a pretty Machiavellian, sort of cunning character.
Deeply so,
Who
which I
did
think is
many.
quite characteristic of female warriors.
Mm, she sort of didn't do the most moral acts during the first part of her after her husband died was killed.
She basically kept doing the same things except in the name of Christ afterward. Burning
Yeah,
down cities, massacring enemy soldiers, taking no prisoners, all kinds
yeah.
of brutal shit.
I
It's
think
really fun.
perhaps her position as a saint is of slight, um, you can slightly question.
Sorry if you hear some crunching, by the way. I'm eating an Arabian candy bar.
Oh, what? And you
Very,
just pick
very
that up,
based halal Alibaba chocolate.
and you just pick that up from what, the local Walmart or something?
No, unfortunately, Walmart does not have food as exotic as that. It was actually from an Asian market. My parents have gotten to the point in their relationship, after more than 20 years of marriage, my parents have decided that like going to fancy grocery stores is an acceptable date.
Yeah, it usually gets to
Yeah.
that point, doesn't it?
Yes. So for their most recent date, they went to a fancy Asian market in the local sort of Birmingham, Alabama area,
Yeah, and
and they got a bunch of they bought like a whole box of these Alibaba chocolate bars.
who needs to go traveling when you can just go to this market then and just pick up some strange odd items?
Uh, it's a bit like an oversized Kit Kat with only the one bar instead of multiple
Lots
bars.
of SCPs, but no.
Is it nice? Oh no. Keep disconnecting. I don't know if that's to do with my own internet connection. Gosh, this has been a very an interesting shotcast. We've had a few interruptions, and a few things have gone wrong. I might try and disconnect and reconnect again. Yeah, I mean the thing with we've had a. I hope you all enjoyed, by the way, that interruption that Lobster had with his brother. It was very entertaining. I wasn't particularly expecting that to happen. Aha! There we go. Yeah, I was.
Now that you have to edit out that dead air.
It's
I was
2 and 4
I was
in
speaking
each
through
zone,
it.
right?
There was about 2 minutes of dead air for a
Shy Guy!
second there.
Shy Guy!
No, it's
Oh,
fine.
dear.
I was ramping away because it was just
Look down
gone
immediately
on
as he
my
cooled down,
end,
shoot him!
so that people couldn't hear you. Did you hear any
No,
of my
where'd he go?
questions,
Oh, okay.
by the way? As in, was it
Line him up,
nice?
line him up!
No, I didn't. After I stopped talking,
Peanut,
I
peanut,
couldn't
peanut,
hear
peanut.
anything
Keep
you
shooting,
said.
keep shooting, peanut.
Oh, okay. Did you I was gonna
Shy,
say,
shy,
is it
shy.
nice? The candy?
Oh yes, it's nice candy. Yes, it's
Oh,
Well, I
Shy
think
Guy
that's
is
actually
just so
going
low.
on was I was saying was that it's a bit like a Kit Kat. It's like a wafer bar.
Yeah.
With chocolate.
Mm.
Except it's not like a firm wheat-based wafer like you would get in a Kit Kat. It's like a softer, fluffier.
Oh no, I've gone again.
Tastes a lot better than styrofoam, but when you bite into it, it makes a somewhat similar noise. It makes a very, very light noise.
Yeah. I seem to be disconnecting sort of on and off. I do hope this doesn't carry on.
Yes, I do hope it doesn't carry.
So who was this person that our good friend Joker? Oh no. Ah. Yeah, I was just gonna say, one of our friends, our good friends, the Joker, he not the actual Joker, of course, but it's someone in our Discord. He posted something about this Sigma female, and that reminds me of our. There we go. It reminds me of our present obsession with such things as kind of the. It's just very interesting. Mr. D, he pointed this out about the pathologizing of current disorders and mental, or just normal behaviours, I should say. And I think this is kind of like it, because we like to say, oh, we're different, we're somehow unique, and I think, yeah, let me try and get something out of this. Again, my apologies for the interruption. This seems to have been a very interesting stream. I keep saying stream. It's a video thing. Stream, podcast, whatever. So I will probably drop out of this and I'll cut out if there's any dead air at the moment. I'll drop out and see what happens after that. And I'll obviously edit out all of this awkward silence afterwards. Again, my apologies, by the way. There we go. Oh dear.
Can you hear me finally?
Yes, I can. I was talking through all of that. It was it's very. I don't know why it keeps doing that. Sorry. My apologies again.
I can hear you. You sound like your microphone was dipped in molasses.
Oh dear.
Yeah, just always range. We haven't hit it back.
Okay, it's fine. You're coming in clearer now. I can hear you.
This has been a very interesting truck
Class D, yeah, we're trying to get you out. We're trying to get you out, man.
Yes, yes.
Anyway, where were we? Talking about
doctor on me?
You mentioned Arthur Fleck's suggestion, the prostitute pirate queen of China.
Everybody,
yes.
Everybody over on me.
I don't even know who the person is. Please, if you know anything about them.
I've forgotten the name. But I'll Google it. Pirate Queen of China. But I do know lots of funny anecdotes. Famously she was a prostitute for ages in the the flower boats, the floating brothels of China for several years, probably starting off when she was underage, because you know what life was like in the brutal Middle Ages.
Ah, shit, I threw my gun. Shit, I actually threw my gun.
But then, like, at some point, she ended up like seducing like a pirate and
I
marrying
accidentally
him.
threw my gun.
Yeah.
And then
Where the hell did it go? I accidentally threw my gun.
you know, but like she wasn't exactly like an evil person or anything. She was actually like a very loyal wife for ages, and basically, she's a bit brighter than he was though. So she sort of helped him build like a massive pirate empire, eventually commanding a fleet of ships larger than the Chinese Navy at the time.
Wow. That's quite the
Mhm.
rise. If you please find out this person. You can search them out on the old
Yeah,
internet.
but there's also like some more comedic anecdotes as well. Like after her first husband died, she married her son-in-law.
D-Class, you have 20 seconds. I'm sorry.
So there's a certain who was like a 12-year-old boy or something at the time. So like there's some like
That
dommy
D-Class is
mommy
absolutely
type
dead.
stuff going on there. Yeah, well, I don't know if he's 12, but he's like a young teenager. He was like in his teens, you know. There's still a little something sus about that.
Isn't there? I think there's just like one terminal left, right? It's just one or
You
two
want me
terminals
You
to-
know,
left.
there is some.
Would you like me to post this this picture? You put some ideas and
I remember
feedback
hearing
as the
the announcement
thumbnail.
say 4 or 5.
Oh yeah, the
So just
Venus
make
of
it last one
Willendorf.
too.
Well, I figure we want to have like pictures of all the women we've been talking about, you know. So it's gonna be like the Venus of Willendorf, plus
Did you guys just shoot
Joan
the
of
D-Class?
Arc, plus Saint Olga
Oh, it was a
of
zombie.
Kiev,
Okay, I just saw
plus
bodies and came in at the end.
Yeah.
you know, plus like Elizabeth Bathory, plus
Where are the
oh yeah,
D-Class
plus the
terminals?
Pirate Queen of China, who I'm about to Google. I forgot about that because I got caught up talking about
All right,
funny
if you have a card-
anecdotes.
Oh, I found it. I'm on terminal. I think this is the last one.
Oh yes,
Or
and
the
of course
second
my
to last
brother's
one.
in the
I can't
background,
remember.
so maybe you ought to include a little Ben Shapiro there to
Yeah.
in the thumbnail as well to sort of poke fun at the debate I had with my brother.
Yeah, that's 6. We got it. Easy.
BGFO with facts and logic.
Yeah, we're gonna add that to the title. That's gotta be one of the highlights. It's like Dee's Black Dobbin. Remember that? That's some.
D-Boy, we're trying to get out of here.
Yes,
Regardless,
Those
just try and
some,
get you off.
proper. What do they call it? Deep
But
lore.
that's definitely going to go on the Clips channel eventually.
Yeah, if we can
I'm
if we
gonna
build
go
something
check
up like
Duke.
that.
Yeah.
And please continue your searching. If
You should
find
disarm
this
him before they
person.
shoot him.
Yes, yes. It's lovely talking to you, but it's not very
Disarm him before people
conducive
shoot
for
him.
my focus.
I
It's
will.
really-
I
okay,
will.
Yeah, let's go.
Right,
You
so
got-
it was Ching Shi,
Alright,
Ching
let's
Shi,
go.
or
Let's
something.
go,
Yeah,
let's
it's
go,
like-
guys.
that's my best approximation
got
of how
the
you're
disarm
supposed to
D-class,
pronounce
we're
it.
getting out of here.
A lot of the art that you can
Is
see
this
of her,
art?
she actually
Perfect,
was
perfect,
depicted in one of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. So
Was she? Oh.
yes, it's like small. She's not exactly.
disarmed,
It's
don't
like when
shoot.
all the pirate lords, like all the great pirates from each of the seven seas
Oh.
meet, like the
Yeah.
seven great captains.
Yeah. I
She's the
remember
one
seeing-
from China.
Ah. That's that's quite interesting.
Yes.
I hate people like you who just shoot
But of
people.
course I would have I feel like that scene would have been slightly better. Like I understand why they didn't do it because they probably didn't study much in depth. But like as like an Easter egg
which
or
top
whatever, sort
bottom?
of to poke fun at the real life history.
Mm.
I would
Dog
have
at
like
top nuke room,
included
dog at
like
top
an
nuke
almost
room?
identical outfit, you know, like a couple's outfit or whatever, like
Oh, I
wearing
thought
the
you said
same
top on
colors
surface.
as her. I would have included like her husband there, like her second husband, you know, who was like
Dog and
20
heavy
years
nuke
younger
room.
than her,
A micro.
very obviously. Yeah. Well, that's sort of like what's it? Wasn't there like the current French Prime Minister or something married like his
Oh.
nanny or whatever?
Yeah, he married his school teacher. Disgusting.
Oh, it was a school teacher,
Mm.
right? Yes. But of course, that reminds me, as you know, like in America, there was actually it was like a 13-year-old boy ended up having sex with his school teacher, and she never got put on the registry or anything.
Mm.
And then, like, eventually, when a child was born
down
from
here?
that, like years later, when that child's like 5 years old, and this boy is eventually become a grown man,
Nuke his arms, press it.
she sued him for child care money.
If Nuke his arms, press it.
Oh, well, that's the way of things, isn't it?
Yeah. So now he has to pay, like, child care for a woman that raped him when he
I
was
don't know, just
13.
get out of here.
Oh,
Or if
dear.
you're in Nuke Room, camp it. If you're
That's
currently in Nuke
that's
Room, camp
awful.
it.
Those sorts of stories when they happen.
Yeah. Ugh.
And
It's what's it? The horrible black curse
Ew,
of the
sorry.
oh, what's it called? Of the those evil fast life history strategists, as old Edward Dutton would put it.
Mm.
Decontamination in
Well, just
1
like
minute,
to-
so even
Right.
if Nuke
So
gets
there's a
canceled, we're
picture.
good.
Yeah.
Yes, there we go. Yeah.
Even if Nuke gets cancelled, we're
Yes,
good.
and also I'll get. There's also like a photograph or something. Maybe it's an old woodcut that's supposedly of her.
Yes, please link that.
Elevator takes 10 seconds to
any
travel.
ideas and
Doug
Yeah,
said.
if you-
I will. It's supposed to be of her as well. She's wearing much less formal attire, slightly westernized looking clothing. I imagine it's how she would have looked when she was actually working.
Mm.
And she's actually like out at sea commanding people.
Yeah. I should ask, who do you think?
Yeah, although yeah.
I don't want to go too off topic, but who was it that who would it be that would be sort of looked upon in Women's History Month as the actual women to celebrate? Who do you think are the best examples of that?
20 years ago, it would have been Amelia Earhart.
Yeah.
5 years ago, it would have been Caitlyn Jenner.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's probably that skanky what's it not nowadays it might be that horrible fat woman who does the bad comedy. Not Rebel Wilson. She's not funny, but she's not a skank. Who am I thinking of? Amy Schumer. Oh dear, Englander, you've muted yourself. Oh, he's having something happen on his side. I hope that I haven't embarrassed him. Now let's see. Let's get a slightly more modern artistic portrayal of the good old pirate queen of China.
Again, I went away. Sorry about that.
Englander, you're back.
Yeah, so I was gonna.
Oh, that's fine.
So who was the person that you who was this?
Oh, I was saying, like
woman?
5 years ago, it would have been Bruce Jenner. Now, what are you talking about the pirate queen now?
Oh, okay. So what
Or,
about
no, it's
queen?
what were you nothing? It's not that relevant. It's just no. It's I was asking you actually if we change topic.
No, I was only.
Is what I was doing. Oh, okay. Now, if we're still on the topic of like what woman would Women's History Month be about, like 20 years ago it would have been Amelia Earhart. 5 years ago it probably would have been Bruce Jenner. Now it would probably be, I don't know. 10 years ago it would have been J.K. Rowling.
Oh yeah, I tell you what, Emma Watson would probably be up there. Do you know?
You know what? It might be Emma Watson now.
Have you seen that recent picture of her? It's almost decayed. It's like a.
Nothing good ever happens to child actors. I'm not surprised.
No. But of all the child actors, or actress, I should say, she seems to have gotten out of it quite badly with her. She's a very prominent feminist, actually.
What was her name?
Emma Watson. I'm sure you've seen some of her recent speeches and all that sort of thing. They were quite big in 2016. When the whole anti-feminist thing
It's not,
kicked
how
off.
old is she now?
I think she's in her early 30s, and she sort of refuses to have
Oh.
children.
She refuses to have children.
She's sort of resigning herself to a life of cats, basically.
She's gonna regret that in her 40s.
I'm sure she will, but unfortunately, as with the way
Well,
of
you know what?
things,
The funny thing actually with that is that actually like having kids is actually like an excellent way for women to preserve their fertility. Like if you have kids when you're 20, it's going to be easier to have kids in your 30s, and if you have kids in your 30s, it's going to be much easier to have kids in your 40s.
yeah. I mean, let me just find that image of her recently. I think it was her. This is turned into some meme.
Yeah. I'm just posting different like pictures and artist representations and all that of the pirate queen of China because she actually is a bit cool.
Slightly cooler than the modern women being celebrated, as we were saying.
Yes. Well, not just cooler than modern women in general. You know, it's like she is literally everything that the sort of wokeists would want to be right now. You know, like they're all like, oh, we need to respect sex workers or whatever. You know, and it's like, all right, here's a prostitute who became the dadgum blasted pirate queen of China. And she literally died of old age. Like she was literally so powerful that no one could do anything to stop her. And she died like in her sleep at old age, surrounded by children and grandchildren, like the happiest old woman in the world, and passed on like a fortune of like millions and billions of dollars in gold and silver and jade on to her offspring. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
it very much had a happy ending.
And who was it that yes, what she ended her life as a pirate then, did she?
And she ended her life retired because she became like incredibly wealthy. And like not just like it's not just that she got wealthy from the pirate business, she got even more wealthy from like peace negotiations. Because there was literally nothing the Chinese government could do to stop her, so eventually they just caved in and paid the Danegeld, and which was so much money that she literally was able to live in comfort the rest of her life.
Yeah. On the subject of
And yeah,
bad modern women as well, I guess we can include some of the old rank punditry with the Will Smith slapping Chris Rock. In the,
yeah, because what's her name? Emma Smith? No, what's the name of Will Smith's wife?
oh, I can't remember.
That shameless bald harlot. That shameless hairless harlot.
Let's have a look. What was her name? Yeah, because she was I mean, we haven't given our own takes, because we haven't actually recorded a Truckcast since it happened, but
yeah, like she literally cucks Will Smith.
yeah.
Like she literally sleeps with other men, but doesn't let him sleep with other women.
Mm.
But also, you know, the thing is
Jada
like people are always like, oh, it's a one-sided. Yeah. What did you say his name was? What?
Jada Smith.
Jada Smith. Oh. An insult to the female sex, I tell you.
Yeah.
Shameless, hairless hussy.
Yeah, and it's all just sort of the way that she's able to abuse this relationship, like so many today, like so many women are able to today, is no surprise.
It's like women like her are the reason why it's illegal for females to drive in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah. She's, yeah, I mean, wasn't she accused of all sorts of things? I can't remember. Yeah. I think she went. I think she actually went on an interview and claimed she'd been having sex with other men, and sort of just openly
She
declared it.
openly says it.
Yeah. I mean, how
Yeah,
awful
she's just the worst.
It's very very tragic tale.
She's not even doing it behind Will Smith's back, you know. She declares it openly in interviews. She's literally like the worst woman on earth right now.
Yeah, but the thing is that
You know,
almost.
second only to Angela Merkel,
Oh yeah, it's another woman to look at.
who is probably the devil's wife.
Yeah, I mean she was the architect of a lot of Europe's present
Her or
troubles.
perhaps Nicola Sturgeon.
Oh.
Nicola Sturgeon is another contender for the title of Satan's wife, I think.
I mean, they are basically twins as well. They look very similar.
Oh, that reminds me of like a horrible green text I saw once. It was it, I of course I don't actually go on the old 4chan myself, but I follow a certain YouTube couple that does. Like literally all their videos are just reading green texts, and they're
quite a
like
career.
Northern Irish people.
Mm.
Yeah. It's like for long, you know, green texts, or for like series of green texts, they make like whole like 10-minute videos. But sometimes they'll just cover like a really short one in just like a single minute video, you know, like on the YouTube Shorts.
Mm.
Those annoying things.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, and it's basically there was like they read like a hilarious green text insinuating that if you want. If you wanted to stir last night's haggis with Nicola Sturgeon, all that it would cost would be like a bag of crisps and a bottle of Iron Brew.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I do remember seeing a recent picture of her sort of loudly praising the Iron Brew, like that's just kind of the symbol of Scottish culture. That's how far it descended.
Yeah, like. Well, you know what? I guess it's just like the thing we always talk about. You know that like the the less authentic a culture becomes, the more sort of petty and stupid their sort of attachments become. You know, like.
Yeah, it's very true.
I think this happens on the right sometimes. Like, I think that racial supremacy is probably the exact same phenomenon, but you know, like it's much more obvious currently on the left. You know, like where you get like these people that bow and worship at the altar of Iron Brew, and they're letting thousands and thousands of immigrants into like, well, not even so-called refugees. You know, basically just immigrants, except with less paperwork.
Mm.
You know, many of whom aren't even coming from a country that's at war, many of whom aren't even coming from countries with particularly high crime rates.
Yeah, just economic.
You know, most of whom are men, you know, yeah. Yeah.
And
no, but yeah, but
the thing is, it's not
it's
very,
just a mess, you know.
The migration isn't very prominent in Scotland. It's
yeah.
she's also voicing how she's using kind
Yeah,
of the
she's not
UK.
really ruining Scotland. She's really just ruining. Well, she's ruining the UK and she's ruining Glasgow because that's the only city in Scotland that really gets affected by anything. Well, I don't know. I've heard Edinburgh isn't nearly as nice as it used to be.
Yeah, well, it's probably like in many cities within the UK.
Nothing's as nice as it used to be.
Yeah, but it's still. I think the actual crime rate and that sort of thing is still quite low overall in Scotland. So.
Sorry, my parents need me to do something. I'll be away for 10 minutes.
Oh, okay. I'll pause the recording and come back when you're done.